Hi, everyone. I'm Marilyn, the CEO of Prem PR and Social. Today, we have Dr. Sophia Yen with us. She's not only a doctor, but she's also a female entrepreneur in the Silicon Valley. She is the CEO and founder of Pandia Health, whose mission is to make women's lives easier by providing affordable birth control straight to your door. I'm really excited to speak with her today because she is a female entrepreneur in the Silicon Valley. And I grew up in the Silicon Valley. So, Doctor, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I love that we're Bay Area natives and startup our entrepreneurs, CEOs of our own master of our worlds.
Absolutely. I mean, tell me about you. I mean, you're a doctor. How did you, come up with this concept and even find the time to be doing it?
Yes, I think a lot of people think because I'm a doctor, a mother, and just like, how do you have time? And the point is, if you find something that you're passionate about and want to do, you just will make the time or you will find the time. My other tip too, to any women that are looking at their entrepreneurial life is once your youngest is 5, then you're back to productivity and you're actually at crazy productivity because you lost a ton of productivity and you realize how many hours there are in the day. And so I think mothers can, and those, who are going to be mothers will get stuff done. And so about 6 years ago, I was giving a talk to a bunch of doctors. Why don't those pesky women take their birth control? And one of the top reasons is didn't have it in their hand. Didn't have time to run to the pharmacy, didn't have time to fit the insurance company's evil law that you can only go 7 days before the medicine runs out. And if you go 8 days before, you got to come back tomorrow. So
Right.
you can imagine if it's going to run out on Sunday and you're there Saturday, Sunday, you're like, can I get my pills? And they're like, nope, come back tomorrow. And you're like, but I have work. I don't have time to come back. And they're like, sorry. And so Pandia Health's goal is to make women's lives easier. Set it and forget it. Let us worry so you don't have to. We watch the calendar. It's very easy to computerize. And exactly 7 days before, we file that thing, we fill the medication, we ship it to your door. Set it and forget it. Skip the trip to the pharmacy. Let us worry so you don't have to. And we call that Pandia Peace of Mind. And then when we ran ads for free birth control delivery, 60% of the women that responded didn't have a prescription. And I was like, do you not know that in the United States, you need a prescription for birth control, pill, patch, or ring? And as an entrepreneur, I was like, I'm not going to miss out on 60% of the customers every time I run an ad. That's just a waste of money, right? So as a doctor, I can write prescriptions. And so we created a new form of telemedicine, or we capitalized on a new form of telemedicine, which is asynchronous, meaning you can fill out a questionnaire 24/7 from the comfort of your home, from the privacy of your bathroom or car or library or wherever you get your internet. And then you give us a government ID, a selfie so we can prove who you are, a blood pressure from the past year so we can make sure it's safe. Then we send it to our doctor, and then 24/7 our doctor can do it in her pajamas or in between cooking for the kids or while breastfeeding. So very flexible for both sides. Looks at it. If it looks good, we write the prescription, bill it to insurance, ship it to the door. You're set for the next year. We will ship it. You don't have to worry about it. And then if you have a prescription, you just tell us where it's at. We move it from that pharmacy. We bill your insurance. We ship it to you, and we keep shipping it to you until that prescription runs out. When it's about to run out, we're like, hey, go see your doctor that wrote this prescription, get it refilled. A month before, 2 months before, a week before, every single day until it's about to run out. Like, don't let this run out. And if you're in California, Florida, Texas, and Wyoming, and we're about to launch Arizona, we can write the prescription. In all other 50 states, we can do the delivery, but we can't write the prescription yet. But we will as we get more money and funding to launch in all 50 states for the prescription part. But for delivery, you got a prescription, skip the trip to the pharmacy, let us take care of it.
I love it. It's like you press the easy button, and you guys did that for all women.
Yes.
Absolutely. Tell me about, like, how long did it take for you to start this company? I know it was an idea after you saw that crazy stat.
Yeah, so that was 6 years ago that I saw that stat and gave that talk. And then my friend and I were like, we'll solve this. We'll just ship to women and keep shipping until they tell us to stop. And as women, we were like, do you want to be CEO? No. Do you want to be CEO? No. And so then we went around and looked for a CEO, but nobody wanted to quote lean in, which is work for no money. But we're like, we just need a CEO. Between the two of us, we know we can raise the money if we get the CEO. And then finally I was like, fine, I will do it, because I'd seen other people in the market and I was like, there is no women founded, women led, nor doctor led company in this space. And it just seems wrong that a bunch of dudes are running birth control companies when my whole life, I just love birth control. I love to say I live, breathe, eat, and prescribe birth control. That I just am such a fan that it has done such great things. And anybody with a uterus that's bleeding 1 week out of 4, we can stop that. And how much better is your life without random blood, 1 week out of 4, or with your hormones going up and down, up and down, up and down every single month, when it can just be rock solid smooth. It's better for your depression, better for those who have diabetes, better for acne, and just better for quality of life. One of the top reasons women miss school or work, their periods. And if we can make it lighter, less blood, or less frequent, we can empower women to participate more in school and in work, right?
Right. No, I agree. So it sounds like you got funding. So how was that whole raising funds, getting to, do the X, Y, and Z? I feel like there's a lot of moving parts in the business.
Yes. So I think it's important when people are looking at their company, is this a company that I can bootstrap, which is fund myself? Is this a company that can make it without getting any funding? Because if you can do it without funding, do it without funding. Because when you get funding, you give away control, right? And I am a control freak, and I want to make sure things are done properly. And as long as I'm CEO of this company, we will always do what's best for a woman, even if it doesn't benefit our bottom line. So we will tell you the IUD with hormone is good for you. We can't give you that. The implant, is good for you, but and the shot is, but if you can't get into a doctor's office, if you're not comfortable with having something placed in your uterus or your arm right now, until then, we can get you, the birth control pill, patch, or ring. But if you need funding, I strongly suggest that you get into one of the major accelerators if possible. So Y Combinator, 500 Startups, StartX, Springboard Enterprise is a great one. Women's Startup Lab, I've been through, as well as StartX, and Techstars, any of those, because they can get you the investor network. Otherwise, it's a lot harder. And to begin with, you start with your friends and family. And unfortunately, that is a disparity between those who have money and those who don't. So luckily, I went to MIT. All my friends are doctors or engineers, and so a lot of them have done okay. They've done startups themselves. And so I'm able to start with friends and family there. But not everyone else has those connections. And that's why we see people of lower socioeconomic status or different ethnicities without those connections not being able to do the same thing with startups. But if you are not in Silicon Valley, I feel that's also a problem, because here we have all the VC. You can just go up and down the street and knock on doors. But if you have to fly in from Kansas and do all your meetings in a week, that's very stressful, right? So that would be my advice, is hook up with one of the major accelerators for women. I'm all about women, helping women. And so Springboard Enterprise, love them. If you don't know them, look them up, check them out. And then Women's Startup Lab, if you're really early on, I think they are a very great group, in that it's 2 weeks, almost 24/7, with the most amazing speakers, the most amazing connections that you can get. But I'd say more for the earlier stage, really earlier stage than later. But they have a great pitching coach. They have just amazing speakers. Reid Hoffman is, also a strong proponent of them as well. And then StartX.
Okay, great. I've never heard of them. So those are some very good resources. What about when you started? What kind of marketing did you do? How did you get the word out about your business?
Yeah, so we now are about 70% organic and 30% paid ads. But to begin with, we were paid ads. And when you're small, it's easy to run some Google or Facebook tests with just like $100 or $500. and test what words, what phrases people will click on. And so just FYI, it's interesting. We're like, do you think women founded, women led, or doctor founded, doctor led? Which one's going to play better, right? And so we did A/B testing when we surveyed women. They said women founded, women led. But if you run ads, they clicked on doctor founded, doctor led. So I wonder that we didn't combine the two. Women doctor founded, doctor led.
There you go.
So we need to test that. But I would say Facebook, Google AdWords. When I say Google AdWords is the easy, low-hanging fruit, because those people have intent. You know, they're like Googling birth control, and you're like, do you want to deliver? Do you want free delivery? Do you want it with goodies? Do you want to buy an expert doctor, passionate doctors? You know, whereas you're on Facebook and all of a sudden you're looking at cats, and then, do you want birth control? Not relevant, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't even know how they serve us up on Instagram. I don't know what you're looking at when they show us, but it works. But Google, I found, is, you know, low hanging cheap fruit. But even cheaper is organic. But organic, you don't know. And exactly like this video podcast that we're doing now, you know, this is a great opportunity to get in front of a lot of people that are potential customers, potential investors. So doing that hustle, doing that network, hiring a PR person that can get you out there is definitely been ways for us. Our PR person has gotten us in CNN Business, through connections I've gotten into Forbes. Stanford has a fairly good PR machine. They just got me a great article in the Atlantic on why menstruate if you don't have to. So check it out.
Awesome. Yeah, I know exactly. I always tell all my clients, there's no cookie cutter formula. You got to test, you got to see what works. And when something works, you put the money in there and you keep putting money into there, right? I mean, there's so many different options that you can take. And like you said, I can totally imagine the Google AdWords, anything Google doing really well for you. That makes sense. So what about 2020? Have you had to switch any of the marketing? Have you seen a shift, or is it still pretty streamlined on what you were doing?
I think that COVID has been two-edged sword. For me, trying to raise new money, meeting new VCs, a lot of VCs are circling their wagons around their current companies that may be dying because of COVID. Because if you were doing in-person restaurant, blah, 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 that's gone, right? And so during COVID, it's actually been a boon for us. So we had our customer acquisition costs, and it was kind of crazy high, and it kind of stuck there, but then everyone got sheltered in place. So everybody's on Facebook and Google AdWords now. And also there was a Facebook boycott. So the major people pulled out of Facebook, and that made things less expensive for us. People that would normally be advertising have also pulled out because you can't advertise if they're not coming in, you know, like stores and restaurants and stuff like that. We still do see the competition on major holidays. So like, you know, Macy's on 4th of July, or those kind of things. We've seen an increase in the cost. But I would say that we are continuing with our paid social media ads, but we definitely see the cost fluctuate according to hunkering in or setting things free. When you set things free, it isn't as effective. The costs go up. When people are stuck in front of Facebook all the time because they got nowhere else to be, or Instagram, then there's an opportunity.
You've thrown out a ton of great tips. What would you say is the best advice that you can give someone wanting to start a business?
I think you need to make sure, one, you love what you're going to do, because you may think you're in it for 2 to 3 years. It's at least 5 to 10 years. So double any university, any high school time that you've had. And look at the people that you have around you. Make sure you sign agreements. And even if you sign agreements, you know, lawyers can break anything. So look at the people you're with. They're going to become your work husband, work wife, work family. I spend far more time with my startup people than I do with my husband or my family. And make sure that your family knows that this is going to happen. My kids call Pandia Health the third child. It is, I live, breathe 24/7 Pandia Health. They were actually happy when we went somewhere that I couldn't pitch Pandia Health, because I'm pitching it to anybody with a uterus, which is a lot of people. I go, you know, at the airport, in the bathroom, any restaurant, any grocery store, anywhere I shop, everywhere, anywhere, all the time, Pandia Health. So the tip is make sure you totally love this. Make sure that you surround yourself with a good team. And if not, have little things that if we break it up, this is how we're going to break it up, or just don't break things up ugly, because that won't be good. And make sure your family is aware of what you're about to do.
Yeah, it's funny. I feel like your they can never understand unless they own a business. And like you said, you almost don't know what you're getting into. And you think, oh, I'm going to start my own business. I'm going to have all this freedom. And then you're like, oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. No, no, no. My time is my business. And like you said, you're in it for 5 to 10 years. I'm coming up on 4. But I mean, it's still a grind, and you're working long hours, and that's how it is, though. It's like, it's your baby. So I consider that my child as well. And
Yes.
I commend you for being a mom. I'm not a mom yet, but I can only imagine having to take care of children, have a business. I'm like, mothers, I hail to you.
Thank you. It's also, finding the great partner, right? And my tip to women out there, once you have a baby, this is a tip, how you make sure it's 50-50 going forward. As long as I do input for the baby, you do output. So I didn't change a single diaper until I stopped breastfeeding, because this is 50-50. If you can't do input, then I'm not going to do output, right? You do output, I do input. And so if you don't start that from the beginning, then it will be not equal. If I have to wake up every 2 to 3 hours to breastfeed, you get to wake up every 2 to 3 hours to change the diaper. And they're like, well, that's just mean. And I was like, if I'm going to suffer, you're going to suffer, because you're as much a father as I am a mother. And you're going to love this baby and sacrifice as much as I sacrifice.
Yeah, I love that. I have not heard that yet. Input and output. That is my new thing going forward.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, my husband's very good at diapers. I have no clue.
Hey, that's the messiest part. I'm like, you take care of that.
The blowouts. And back in the day when we flew, I realized why there's a blowout. When you go up, gas expands. So any gas in that baby, and you as a parent, you're a new parent, you're not prepared. So when you go on an airplane, bring extra clothing, because we did not have extra clothing. And my husband luckily wore an undershirt. So he took off his undershirt, and my baby was wearing his undershirt as his onesie. But without that, child would have been naked or poo covered.
Doctor, you've been just throwing out some great advice. I mean,
I'm always happy to help my fellow woman survive life and fellow human being. Pandia Health, we're building the online health brand that women trust, because we're the only women founded, the only doctor founded. And we hope that your watchers and listeners will go to pandiahealth.com and /periods optional if you don't want periods. But also we have amazing blogs, amazing YouTube. And my new blog that I'm really trying to get out there is, with COVID, a lot of people are going into telemedicine. And there's good telemedicine and there's bad telemedicine. If it's your regular doctor, go right ahead. But if you're picking a new thing, isn't it kind of weird if the website doesn't list their doctors? Isn't it kind of weird if there's no first and last name? Like, oh, we have pharmacist Francis. Why won't you tell me her last name? What's messed up with that? We have nurse practitioner Sue. What's Sue's last name? I want to know where she went to school, stuff like that. And then for telemedicine, and particularly birth control, they should give you all your options. As I mentioned before, I've taken the oath, do no harm. I'm one of the few CEOs that is an MD and therefore has taken that oath. And full informed consent is basic telemedicine, basic healthcare. So if you go to a website for birth control and they don't offer you the pill, the patch, the ring, then they are not practicing standard of care. And you'll see that some people out there are only offering 2 out of those 3 options. But as a doctor, I can write any prescription. I can send it wherever you want. It's kind of cool and very powerful. But if that company's not doing it, then they're not doing it well. And we're also encouraging people to get emergency contraception ahead of time. So it's like, if you forgot to take your pill, didn't wear your patch, didn't use a ring, or God forbid your friend got sexually assaulted, then it would be there ready to go, as opposed to run to the pharmacy. Do you have this? No, we don't have it in stock. It's not covered by insurance, or all this kind of grief. Deal with that before the emergency and just have it sitting in the back waiting in case of an emergency. And so that is something that we're putting out there. And then you'll also see some of these companies are pushing a specific drug. Never have I been to a doctor's office and they're like, do you want this drug? No, they're like, do you want the pill, the patch, the ring? Do you want the 1 month ring, the 1 year ring? A good doctor might want to start with the 1 month ring, see if you like it, and then switch to the 1 year ring. To go directly to the 1 year ring is a waste of money. $2,000. Should start with the 1 month ring. And then if you like it, go to the 1 year ring. But again, look out there, see what you find. That's the difference between a money-oriented CEO and a CEO who's here for your health. I'm here because I want to make women's lives better. That's the only reason I started this company, because as a doctor, I was making perfectly good money in life. I did not need this drama or this stress that startup is bringing to me. I have so many white hairs that I didn't have before. And but I'm doing it because it needed to be done. Needed to be women founded, women led. Needed to be doctor led. And until I see these other companies shape up, I got to be here.
I love that. I love that. I could tell you do have a huge passion for what you're doing and wanting to help women. And I think that's most important. I know I got into my business for the passion of it. You know, the money comes second, but I love helping people. I love helping companies. So you are a great woman founder. I'm so happy we got to talk. Thank you so much again. You guys check out Pandia Health. You're doing amazing things, doctor. So I appreciate you letting me interview you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for sharing your stardom with me.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, and we'll talk soon.
Absolutely.